Lieutenant Corvin had never understood why humans made the stars feel alive. Space was supposed to be silent, perfectly calculated. A black ocean owned only by the will of the Threx Dominion. Yet as Corvin's small reconnaissance vessel drifted toward the invisible border of Terran space, he felt something he had no word for. An irritant beneath his skin, a tremor in the mind. Anticipation? Fear? No. Threx warriors did not fear, but humans. They were the anomaly of the galaxy. Too young, too few, too stubborn. They survived wars that should have ended their history. They built homes on worlds that tried to kill them. They prayed to unseen entities and believed destiny listened. Corvin exhaled, a controlled vent of breath. Faith was a human defect. The Dominion required obedience to logic and empire. Nothing more still. He'd seen recordings. A human soldier in a crumbling bunker, whispering to the sky before charging an armored walker with nothing but a burning piece of metal, and winning. Madness and courage merged into something dangerous. His commander's final words echoed, "Observe the humans. Learn how they think, before we crush them." Corvin's orders were simple: slip into the Sol system. Track military signals. Report. Do not engage. His ship's interface pulsed cold blue. Distance to Terran perimeter, 0.8 light hours. He swallowed. The stars here felt closer, as if watching. A soft hum vibrated through the cockpit. His vessel, the Silent Ratio, was a masterpiece of Threx stealth. No Terran radar could detect it. He should have felt invincible. Instead, his claws tapped restlessly on the console, an unconscious rhythm, like a heartbeat he didn't own. He reran the Threx intelligence dossier, studying the species born from Sol humans. They were unpredictable, seemingly fragile. Yet every empire that had tried to enslave them eventually failed. How a young race resisted the oldest predators in the stars was still classified under unknown. That word irritated him. Unknown meant uncontrolled. A flicker on his scanner cut the thought short. Not a ship, a transmission. Faint, chaotic. Human language scattering across frequencies like someone screaming into broken machinery. He increased volume. Static. A voice. Another. Laughter mixed with crying. Then, a prayer. "If anyone can hear, please, God, don't let them find us," Corvin froze. It wasn't military chatter. It sounded like civilians, desperate, hiding. His instincts demanded caution. His duty demanded he report. But his heart, an organ bred to pump loyalty into his blood, felt heavier than usual. Why would humans invoke a deity they'd never seen in the cold vacuum of space? What did they believe was listening? A tremor shivered through his vessel. Warning, external energy field detected. Corvin spun his chair. The display flooded with red. A distortion rippled like water in space, unnatural and large enough to swallow a cruiser. What in... His voice died. Stars bent. Light vibrated. The void folded inward. His ship lurched. Gravity. Real, crushing gravity. Threw him against restraints. Lights flickered, monitors scrambled with symbols he didn't recognize. His engine screamed. This field is not Terran. The distortion collapsed. Silence. His ship drifted. Systems rebooting in shaky flickers. Corvin gasped through clenched teeth, forcing breath into lungs that suddenly felt too small. Time skipped. How long? He checked logs. Minutes were missing, deleted without trace. Then he saw it. Earth. A blue-gold sphere hanging ahead of him, like a painting signed by a god he didn't believe in. He shouldn't be here. The distortion, it had thrown him deep inside the human defense perimeter, closer than any Threx ship had ever gotten. Silent Ratio, engage stealth protocols, he ordered. No response. Silent Ratio? His vessel remained. Quiet, a living silence. Something had changed. Suddenly, a human voice whispered behind him. "You don't belong here." Corvin spun, weapon drawn. The cabin was empty. Air recycled, metal sealed. Nothing alive but him. He stood still, breath shallow. Hallucination? Stress or a trace from that missing time? He sat again, slow, guarded, forcing mind back into discipline. Note: investigate external field anomaly. Possible Terran weapon. He adjusted position, drifting into the shadow of Earth's largest moon. Its craters glowed faint silver, silent witnesses to ancient cosmic violence. There, tucked into that darkness, he would observe. He activated thermal scans. Human cities glowed across the planet, networks of heat and hope, billions of them, breathing, building, believing. Species that dared to call themselves chosen. He watched a small, orbital craft glide overhead painted white. NASA, and insignia shaped like a winged arrow pierced the darkness. Inside, humans, laughing, working, unaware of the enemy watching. Corvin should have felt superior. Instead, he felt curious. Why laughter? Why joy in orbit over a fragile world? Did they not know the universe wanted them dead? His claws hovered over the recorder. He hesitated. Small hesitation. Barely noticeable. But it existed. He watched a human astronaut pause by a window. The figure pressed a hand to the glass and spoke softly. Unheard but clear. Thank you for letting me witness this, not to another person, to the stars, as if someone might be listening. Corvin felt his heartbeat misfire. This was what made humans dangerous. They didn't just survive. They believed survival meant something. A quiet alarm chimed, barely audible. Incoming transmission encryption. Terran level 3 source. Unknown. His eyes widened. They'd detected him before he could react. The transmission forced itself through. We know you're watching. Lieutenant, don't be afraid. You were meant to come. The cockpit darkened. Stars winked out. Only Earth remained, bright and alive. Corvin's throat tightened. How do you know who I am? The answer came as a whisper, not through speakers but inside his thoughts. Because you asked the stars a question, and someone answered. His blood chilled. A shiver ancient and spiritual climbed his spine. Faith. The human defect, his voice cracked. What? Question? This time the voice smiled. Why are humans still alive? Come and see. Corvin's hands shook on the controls. Logic screamed, retreat, report, obey. Something deeper whispered, find out, understand, change. For the first time in his life, Lieutenant Corvin didn't know which voice to trust. Earthlight reflected in his eyes, blue and full of impossible stories. His next move would define the fate of 2 species. He exhaled, trembling, silent ratio, descend. His ship obeyed. As the vessel slipped out of the moon's shadow and into the reach of human gravity, Corvin realized there was no going back. Somewhere on Earth, a human looked up at the night sky and smiled as if welcoming him home. Lieutenant Corvin expected alarms, missiles, interception fleets, some sign the humans recognized him as an intruder. Instead, Earth welcomed him with silence. The silent ratio cut through the upper atmosphere like a ghost, its stealth systems adapting instinctively, almost too instinctively. Corvin watched data streams shift without command, as though the ship itself wanted to go lower. He kept breathing steady, but unease coiled inside him. Clouds swallowed the vessel, mist brushing the hull like curious fingers. Beneath them, oceans vast and ancient, continents shaped by war and hope alike. He saw cities, pearls of light strung together by roads like luminous veins. Civilization pulsing, alive. Then, his scans detected a structure rising from the shoreline. A human building. Isolated, surrounded by forest and dark sea. A sanctuary. The transmission's coordinates led here. What is this place? He murmured. His vessel replied, not with text nor voice, but with a gentle nudge. A tilt, a course correction. Corvin's breath caught. It wasn't malfunctioning, it was guiding him descent. Engaged landing sequence initiated. Corvin tightened his grip on the controls until his claws dug. Grooves into metal, trees parted beneath, towering pines bowing under thruster wind. The ship settled into a clearing, silent as snowfall. Systems powered down with a serenity that felt reverent. He had landed on Earth. The thought should have paralyzed him. Instead, a strange warmth crawled beneath his exoskin. He stood, helmet sealed, weapon locked at his hip. The airlock hissed a slow breath of machinery. Stars vanished behind the closing hatch. He was alone with gravity, and whatever waited outside. As the ramp lowered, night air rushed in. Cold. Sharp. Smelling of salt and living earth. Corvin froze. It was the first time in his life he'd smelled a world that wasn't owned by the Dominion. This air wasn't filtered or sanctioned. It was free. His hearts, a primary and the smaller auxiliary organ, thudded in uneven sync. He stepped into darkness. A soft drizzle fell, tapping against his armor, gentle reminders that this world had weather, moods, life that paid no tribute to conquest, and then he saw him. A single human stood at the edge of the clearing, unarmored, unafraid, young by Terran standards. Brown skin, dark hair, hands visible open, showing he carried no weapon. Rain streaked down his face, but he didn't flinch. He looked at Corvin as though seeing an old friend. Corvin's hand hovered near his blaster. "Identify yourself," he commanded, voice metallic through the helmet speaker. The human smiled, soft but certain. "My name is Yusuf." The name translated across Corvin's visor, meaning he who is chosen. Corvin's chest tightened. He forced protocol into his voice. "You sent that transmission." Yusuf shook his head gently. "No. You heard what you needed to hear." Corvin's mandibles twitched. He didn't like riddles. "Explain how you know me." Yusuf took a step closer, calm and slow. "Because you asked a question every soul asks. Why are we still alive?" Corvin's weapon hand trembled. He hadn't spoken that question aloud. He had only thought it, alone in space. No human could have intercepted internal neural signals. "Human?" Yusuf chuckled softly. "I am just a man, but the one who made you. He listens to every frightened heart." Lightning split the distant sky. Corvin flinched, armor shimmering under electric light. He wanted to deny the words, yet something inside him recognized the truth, not from logic but memory. A moment in the distortion. A presence watching. Corvin steadied. "You're telling me your god intervened in a military operation?" Yusuf's eyes softened with a sorrow older than war. "I'm telling you, someone wanted you to live." Those words struck harder than any weapon. His breath hitched before he could respond. Siren wailed in the sky, a human aircraft, fast armed. They had detected him. Searchlights cut through the clouds like blades. Corvin snapped into survival mode. Blaster drawn, armor locking, focalizers narrowing. "They're coming to kill me." Yusuf stepped in front of him. "No one dies tonight." "You cannot stop them," Corvin hissed. Yusuf didn't move aside. "I don't need to stop them." "You do." Corvin's mind flooded with tactical scenarios. None ended well. Outnumbered, surrounded, unknown. Terrain. He should escape to the ship. He should flee the planet. He should report to the Dominion. But his feet felt rooted. "Why should I trust you?" Corvin whispered. Yusuf looked toward the sky, toward the roaring machines and the storm-wreathed heavens. He spoke like one reciting a truth worn smooth by countless lips. "Because humans are not your enemy, and neither is the one who brought you here." The aircraft approached, searchlights piercing the clearing. Corvin's hearts hammered. Choice fractured him. He turned toward his ship, its hull glowing faint in the rain. Safety, duty, home. Then he looked back at Yusuf, one unarmed human who stood against the sky without flinching, a creature of faith, a creature of defiance, a creature who believed survival had purpose. Corvin lowered his weapon just an inch. It was enough. The aircraft engines roared overhead, then passed, without firing, without even slowing, as if they couldn't see the ship, as if the clearing did not exist. Corvin staggered, stunned. His stealth tech was down, he was sure of it. So how? Yusuf turned to him, eyes reflecting Earth's hidden miracle. "You were not guided across the stars to be destroyed at the doorstep." He stepped closer, hand extended. "You were guided to understand rain," softened into mist. The world seemed to hold its breath. Corvin stared at the offered hand. A gesture simple yet terrifying. Connection. Trust. Change. He reached out, hesitantly, claws, brushing human skin. Warmth surged up his arm. Not heat, understanding, something. Inside him cracked, like a shell weakening to let something new emerge. Yusuf met his gaze. "Welcome to Earth, Corvin." For the first time since leaving Threx Prime, the alien bowed his head, not in submission, in respect. Above the clouds, Something ancient and unseen watched the two figures and waited for Corvin's next choice. Lieutenant Corvin had been trained to dissect emotions, to carve fear into obedience and curiosity into silence. But this world, this human, refused to fit any category. Yusuf walked beside him through the dripping trees, leading him toward the small structure Corvin had detected earlier. Rain clung to leaves like tiny mirrors reflecting flecks of moonlight. Every sound felt amplified, crickets clicking, branches creaking, water trickling down soil. This planet lived loudly. Corvin's visor scanned continuously. Heat signatures, electromagnetic patterns, biological traces. Everything came up. Ordinary, and yet nothing felt ordinary. He forced his voice steady. You planned this. You knew I would come. Yusuf shook his head gently. I knew someone would come. I didn't know it would be you. But how did you know anything would come? Yusuf stopped walking. He looked up, through the branches and toward heaven's endless black, because every empire believes it owns the stars. But the stars belong to their maker. Corvin's heart stumbled again, that unfamiliar stutter of emotion. His armor suddenly felt too tight. You speak as if your god sees across the galaxy. Yusuf smiled, not arrogantly, but like someone humbled by truth. He sees every soul he creates. Corvin wanted to reject the idea. Dominion science proved life evolved from natural chaos. No guiding intelligence, no divine authorship. He opened his mouth to argue. A soft chime cut him off. His suit alerted him, stress hormones spiking. He slowed his breathing, restoring control. Yusuf didn't press the conversation further. He simply resumed walking, quiet, calm, as though he carried a secret too vast for pride. Ahead, the structure emerged through the trees, white walls. A simple roof. A cross mounted above the door like a blade pointing to the sky. A church. Corvin recognized the symbol from intelligence files. A place of human worship. The alien froze. This is where you wanted to take me? Yusuf nodded. This is where your real mission begins. My mission is reconnaissance. Corvin growled. Yusuf's eyes softened with a compassion Corvin didn't. Understand, your mission is transformation. Corvin bristled, anger striking quick and sharp. No one transforms a Threx. We transform others. Yusuf opened the door, the hinges creaking with gentle age. Then, come inside, he said, stepping through. See if that remains true. Corvin hesitated. Entering meant surrendering the safety of the forest, of escape. But the pursuit aircraft had passed by them as though blind. Something here shielded him, something beyond stealth. The church breathed warm candlelight and quiet peace. Wooden benches, symbols carved with hands that believed. A single book resting near the front. Worn pages, living words. Corvin stood rigid, visor sweeping the interior. Why bring me into a shrine? Yusuf approached the altar, placing fingers upon the old book with reverence. Because this is where humans come when we are broken, and reminded we were made with purpose. Corvin's voice darkened. We were bred for purpose, loyalty, conquest, dominion. Yusuf met his eyes. Unafraid. Purpose is not obedience. Purpose is why you exist. Corvin flinched, the words hitting a place he didn't want touched. His mandibles quivered. His vision blurred for a heartbeat. What do you expect me to find here? He demanded, voice cracking. Yusuf took a deep breath, then spoke softly, almost a whisper. Yourself. The silence after those words felt like an ocean. Corvin's throat tightened. He looked around, at candles flickering against wooden walls, their flames dancing like defiant stars. Humans burned fire to defy darkness. Dominion ships burned worlds. Which species was stronger? A sudden tremor shook the ground, deep, vibrating through his bones. Corvin's instincts flared. He activated helmet sensors. Seismic disturbance when approaching. What is that? Yusuf turned toward the door. His expression changed. Fear but not surprise. They've come for you. Humans. Yusuf's voice remained level. No. Yours. Corvin's blood iced. Dominion drop pods screamed from the sky, invisible to human detection, visible to Corvin's sensors like falling comets of death. Of course they tracked him. Of course they suspected defection. He grabbed his blaster. How did they find me? Yusuf answered calmly, heartbreakingly. because they know what change looks like, and they fear it. Corvin cursed in his native tongue, guttural and trembling. He faced the door, armor, locking into battle state. Multiple heat signatures, closing in, Threx hunters, elite and ruthless. Yusuf, hide behind the altar. But Yusuf did not move. Instead, he placed a hand gently on Corvin's arm. A human hand, warm, against alien armor. Don't fight them in rage. Fight them with what you came here to learn. Corvin's breath shook. And what is that? Yusuf held his gaze, unwavering. That life isn't meant to be conquered. It is meant to be protected. The church lights flickered as Dominion troops landed outside. Heavy footsteps pounding toward the door. Corvin's weapon hummed, ready to kill his own kind. Would he? Could he? His entire life demanded one answer: obey. But Earth had shown him another: believe. He squared his stance, between the door and the human. Rain hammered the roof like war drums. He spoke, voice steady now. If they want this world, they must go through me. Outside, the Dominion commander snarled an order. Lieutenant Corvin, surrender the human, then kneel. Corvin closed his eyes. One last second of doubt. Then he whispered a word no Threx soldier had ever spoken in defiance. No. The door exploded, troops stormed in. Blaster fire tore through sacred air. Corvin roared, not in hatred, but in shielding. For the first time in his life, he was fighting for something, not conquest, not empire, not survival, purpose. Outside, thunder rolled, as if the sky itself had chosen its side. Blaster fire turned the sanctuary of wood and candlelight into a storm of shrapnel and smoke. Lieutenant Corvin moved on instinct, faster than he'd ever moved in Dominion training. He deflected shots with reinforced forearms, returning fire that blinded enemies with dim blue bursts. Pews shattered, splinters flying like arrows through air thick with dust. But for every soldier he dropped, 2 more pushed through the burning doorway. His breathing grew ragged. His armor cracked under the relentless assault. He caught a glimpse of Yusuf sheltering behind the altar, whispering words Corvin could not hear, and yet somehow did. Not a plea for safety, a call for courage. Corvin ducked a plasma bolt that vaporized a candle in a flash of tears and light. Heat scorched his skin beneath the armor. He wasn't just outnumbered, he was outpurposed. Threx warriors fought for conquest. Corvin fought for life. Dominion Lieutenant, Commander Rocco, stepped forward, towering over his soldiers. His voice boomed mechanical through his mask. Corvin, you disgrace your oath. Corvin steadied his blaster, chest heaving. My oath was to protect the Dominion, not feed its hunger. Rekos raised a glowing baton and crackling, with energy hot enough to melt steel. Then die as a traitor, he charged. Corvin braced for impact, but a blinding flash erupted from the front of the church. Not weapon fire. Something deeper. A burst of energy like sunlight breaking stone. Dominion soldiers froze in place. Every flickering candle flared to life. Flames stretching upward, turning gold, then white. Illuminating stained glass windows with impossible brilliance. Yusuf raised his hands from prayer, eyes open now, glistening with something ancient. This house is not yours to desecrate, Rocco snarled. Primitive ritual. Worthless. Yusuf didn't flinch. Then why are your soldiers afraid? Corvin looked and saw fear. Genuine. Raw. Threx eyes widening at a power they had no formula for. No explanation. No control. The white flames wavered, as though breathed on by some unseen presence. Then, the roof gave way. A crack of thunder shook the church as a bolt of lightning speared through the ceiling, striking Rakos's baton and exploding it into molten shards. The commander roared, armor sparking violently. Corvin seized the moment, slamming into Rakos and sending them both crashing into a wall. His blaster fell from his grasp. The two wrestled, claws scraping armor against armor. You would choose them over your own kind? Rakos spat, Corvin's mandibles clenched. Choose what's right. He headbutted the commander with a sickening crack. Rakos staggered, stunned. Corvin grabbed his fallen blaster and fired, point blank. The commander collapsed, armor smoking. Pride shattered. The remaining Threx soldiers hesitated, loyalty shaken. Corvin stood tall, blood and rain dripping from his armor. "Leave this world," he warned, "or I will bury every one of you." Most fled. One did not. A young Threx scout, barely past initiation. He lifted his weapon, hands trembling, conflict tearing his expression apart. Corvin raised his blaster, then stopped. Slowly he lowered it. The scout stared, confused. "You have a choice," Corvin whispered. "I never knew I did." The young soldier's weapon fell from his hand, hitting the floor. With a soft clatter that echoed louder than any gunshot, he fled into the night silence, returned unbroken only by the hiss of dying flames and distant thunder grieving across the sky. Corvin's legs nearly gave out. He leaned on a broken pew, gasping. He had just attacked his own people. He had become the enemy he once hunted. Yusuf approached, slow, careful, as if approaching a wounded animal capable of either accepting help or ripping out his throat. Corvin's voice trembled. "I have betrayed everything I was." Yusuf knelt beside him, not touching, just present. "No. You have protected what you were always meant to become." Corvin stared at the cross on the wall, blackened by fire yet still standing. How do humans keep believing in something they cannot see? Yusuf looked at him, with a softness only earned through suffering. Because sometimes, when everything is taken from you, faith is the only thing the universe cannot kill. Corvin felt the truth like a wound needing to bleed, but doubt clawed at him. "What if I chose wrong?" Yusuf breathed in, calm waves beneath chaos. "Then one who brought you here will show you another choice." Corvin bowed his head. Not in defeat, but in something unfamiliar. Hope Yusuf stood and extended his hand once more. Not commanding, not insisting, inviting. "Corvin, there are more who need saving. Saving, not conquering." Corvin felt his hearts tighten, not in fear, but purpose. Yet before he could take Yusuf's hand, a desperate static scream blared through his helmet. "Emergency alert, Threx fleet." Arriving in orbit invasion, imminent. Corvin's breath turned cold. They weren't coming for one renegade scout anymore. They were coming for Earth. Yusuf's eyes darkened, pain and resolve blending into something stronger. "Then we will face them. Together." Corvin finally took Yusuf's hand, claws and fingers locking in shared defiance, and that moment, alien and human, two completely different creations, stood united against the vast machinery of empire. Outside, the storm howled. The wind roared like a warning. The world awaited a war it didn't know had begun, Corvin whispered. "If we lose, humanity dies." Yusuf nodded, unshaken. "If we lose, then let our courage be remembered by the one who made the stars." Corvin felt the words ignite something fierce inside him. Soldier, a protector, a believer in something bigger than himself. Whatever happened next, he would not face it as property of the Dominion. He would face it as Corvin of Earth. And in the heavens above, the Threx armada cut a shadow across the sun, the darkness of conquest descending upon a world of faith. The Threx Dominion fleet arrived without warning, black shapes blotting out the stars like a storm of steel wings. Hundreds of warships formed a silent formation above Earth, eclipsing the moon's gentle glow. On the ground below, not a single civilian yet realized the night sky had turned into a battlefield. Corvin and Yusuf stood outside the shattered church, staring upward as clouds glowed ominously with reflected starlight from the armada. Corvin's voice was low, shaken. "They will incinerate cities first, crush hope before resistance forms." Yusuf's expression remained steady. "Then, we must help humanity hope faster." Corvin turned to him, unsure if the man was fearless or simply insane. "Humans have no defense against that fleet." Yusuf shook his head. Softly, "Humans have always been defenseless, but never powerless." Corvin felt the weight of those words settle into him like gravity shifting toward a new center. He activated long-range comms in his helmet. Intercepting Dominion tactical. Chatter, Phase 1. Orbital dominance. Phase 2. Strategic bombardment of capitals. Phase 3. Ground. Conquest. Cold, efficient, certain unless something or someone broke certainty. "We must warn your leaders," Corvin insisted. Mobilize whatever you have. He motioned toward the forest where his hidden vessel waited. The silent ratio pulsed faintly with residual energy, like a heart still beating after a fall. Its systems were damaged from the dimensional anomaly, but communications still worked. Yusuf followed, keeping pace beside the alien warrior. When they reached the vessel, Corvin placed his palm on the hull. It recognized him with a soft resonance. Interior lights flickered on. Inside, Corvin rushed to the main console. Screens flooded with tactical displays, Earth surrounded by red markers. 8 hours, he muttered. Maybe less before bombardment. Yusuf rested a hand on the edge of the console. Show me. Corvin hesitated, but real urgency outweighed instinct. He transferred a projection, an image of Earth slowly being ringed in fire. Yusuf studied it, sorrow deepening in his eyes. Corvin searched his face. You are afraid? Yusuf nodded. He didn't try to hide it. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Corvin. It's choosing to stand while fear tries to drown you. Corvin had faced death countless times, but he had never faced fear like this, fear of losing something worth the fear. He keyed into Terran frequencies. Military command would detect a breach instantly. Before broadcasting, he paused, armor creaking as he inhaled. They will not believe me, Corvin admitted. No, Yusuf agreed, but they will believe truth. Corvin opened a common channel frequency, a sharp crack of static. Then a voice answered, confused, cautious. This is United Earth Defense Command. Identify yourself, Corvin straightened, voice commanding. This is Lieutenant Corvin of the Threx Dominion. You are under invasion. Silence. Then chaotic activity erupted in the background, shouting, alarms. Repeat message? Corvin leaned closer to the mic. I have defected. Dominion forces intend to destroy major population centers. You must evacuate, prepare countermeasures, anything. Why should we trust an invading alien? Corvin froze. Yusuf touched his shoulder. Tell them who you are now. Corvin spoke through clenched teeth, every syllable a transformation. I fight for Earth, I fight for humanity. Another beat of silence, and then the comm officer's voice returned. We'll prepare. The channel cut. Corvin sagged into his seat, exhaustion collapsing through him. Yusuf stood close enough to feel the tremors in the alien's armor. You did what they needed, Yusuf said quietly. What if it isn't enough? Corvin whispered. Yusuf looked up, eyes reflecting faith's impossible horizon. We never know what is enough, until the moment it is. Before Corvin could respond, an alert flashed bright red across his console. Incoming signal. Directed source. Threx flagship. Emperor's Eye. Corvin's hearts dropped. The Dominion Commander-in-Chief, Grand Marshal Xanath, wished to speak. Corvin opened the channel. A towering Threx appeared as a hologram, cloaked in obsidian armor, eyes like burning frost. Corvin, you disappoint me? The voice rumbled through the ship like judgment. Corvin forced himself upright. I will no longer be your weapon. Xanath scoffed. Weapons don't choose. Tools don't think. Corvin's anger surfaced. Fierce and sharp. Then perhaps I am neither. Xanath leaned forward, voice dripping cold amusement. This compassion you've adopted will be your undoing. Humans are weak. They pray for rescue while empires take what they want. Yusuf stepped forward, into the hologram's view. Or maybe they pray because empires can only take what is temporary. Xanath's eyes narrowed. Analyzing the human, primitive. You believe in a creator who does not exist. Yusuf exhaled slowly, not in anger, but certainty. He exists whether you believe in him or not. Xanath laughed, a sound like metal cracking under winter. Ice, faith is not a weapon. Corvin stepped closer, voice rising like thunder. No, but it is why humans survive what should kill them. Xanath's smile vanished. You have chosen extinction. Then you will watch this world burn. The hologram dissolved. Space trembled as the fleet began shifting. Formation. Corvin's claws dug into the console. They will target your capitals first, Washington, Islamabad, Tokyo. Anywhere humanity feels united. Yusuf remained calm, though fear flickered behind his steady gaze. We will not run. Humans do not surrender the sky. Corvin looked at him, almost pleading. But what if the sky surrenders us? Yusuf placed a hand over Corvin's. Armor and flesh united by purpose. Then we will hold on to each other. Outside, the wind rose, carrying storm clouds like shields across the heavens. Lightning split the sky, illuminating Earth's forests like burning hope. Corvin felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not doubt. Conviction. He turned to the controls. We disrupt their assault strategy, force them into ground conflict, and where humanity is strongest, Yusuf nodded, and where you will not be alone. Corvin activated the battle. Interface, targeting, schematics, drawing, pathways to survival. We strike the command relay. Blind the fleet. He lifted his blaster, reloading with trembling purpose. Yusuf stepped toward the exit. Ramp, rain soaking the earth beneath his feet. He looked back, eyes burning with faith. Let's protect the world that welcomed you home. Corvin followed. Stepping into the storm, above them, the Threx warships loomed, dark titans ready to devour the dawn. Corvin inhaled, fear sharpening into resolve. This time, he whispered, the Dominion will learn what humans are made of. And far above, in the silent void, the first of the Threx cannons powered up, humming with the threat of extinction, but the sky, once surrendered to empires, now had warriors who refused to bow. Rain hammered the earth like a warning bell, relentless, cold, alive. Lightning carved brief scars of white across the sky where the Threx warships hovered like silent gods of judgment. Corvin stood soaked in the downpour beside Yusuf, staring at the shadows of the invading fleet. Each vessel carried enough firepower to erase a continent, yet humanity still breathed beneath them, still hoped, still prayed. They reached a secure bunker, a forgotten military relay station hidden beneath layers of iron and earth. Yusuf strained to push aside the heavy metal hatch. It screeched open, revealing rusted stairs spiraling into darkness. Corvin adjusted his helmet lamp and descended first. Inside, dust, forgotten equipment, humming generators surprisingly still alive. The faint smell of old wires and damp concrete clung to the air. This place, Corvin whispered. Why build a communications hub so far into wilderness? Yusuf descended behind him, voice echoing in the hollow space. Men long ago decided that if the world ever ended, someone should still be able to speak. Corvin considered that. There was something deeply human about preparing to shout into darkness, refusing silence. Yusuf powered up the central console, ancient screens flickering, bathing them in pale light. Corvin connected his suit's neural port to the system. The network map appeared. Earth's communication grid was fragmented, satellites knocked offline by the Threx blockade, but not dead. Threads of signal still pulsed like stubborn veins, defying suffocation. Corvin felt his heart steady. We can broadcast through low-frequency channels, every radio, every speaker, every emergency line. Everyone will hear. Yusuf nodded. We must give them something to hold on to. Corvin swallowed, realization tightening his chest. You want me to speak? Yes, Yusuf said simply, because they need to hear truth from the one who once hunted them. Corvin stared at the screen. His reflection stared back. A soldier of the Dominion, armor-scarred, eyes burning with conflict. What do I say? He whispered. Yusuf placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Say what changed you. Corvin took a breath that felt heavier than battle. He opened the channel. All across Earth, emergency radios crackled to life. Sirens paused in mid-howl. Soldiers halted at their posts. Men in hidden shelters lifted their heads. Men in streets stepped out of fear for one moment, listening. Corvin spoke. People of Earth, I was sent to destroy your hope. His voice trembled. A warrior admitting sin. I believed strength meant conquest. I believed compassion was weakness. I believed humanity was a mistake and waiting to be erased. He closed his eyes, seeing Yusuf silently listening behind him. Then, I met a man who showed me that survival is not domination. It is sacrifice, it is courage, it is standing, when you are already broken. Static answered him, but he continued. Your enemy calls you primitive. They call your prayers illusions. They call your kindness a defect. A deep breath, rain, thrumming above. But I have seen that kindness is your greatest weapon. When the universe demanded fear, you chose faith. His voice hardened, iron beneath emotion. Now the Dominion wants your skies. They want your future. They expect you to kneel, his fist clenched, plate armor creaking. Do not kneel. Earth's silent panic shifted, slightly, toward something else. Stand, fight, not because you believe you can win, but because you believe this world is worth dying for. Yusuf bowed his head, eyes closed, as if those words were prayer. Corvin's voice dropped to a solemn vow. The stars do not belong to empires, they belong to those who dare reach for them. A heartbeat of silence pulsed across the planet. Corvin inhaled, one final message burning through him. Humanity, you are not alone. I will stand with you until my last breath. He ended the broadcast. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, the world roared. Men in bunkers slammed fists to chest in silent pledges. Men on defense lines raised weapons with renewed fire. Men in control rooms locked eyes with one another, fear becoming resolve. A naval base bunker, a voice message crackled over comms. Order to all units, we fight humanity. Unified by a stranger's words, Yusuf exhaled. Shakily, you just gave millions. A reason to rise when falling seemed easier. Corvin shook, drained by the weight of being heard. Before either could speak further, alarms blared. Across the relay hub, Dominion. Interception. A booming explosion tore through the forest. Above, and soil raining down, concrete cracking. The bunker trembled like a heartbeat skipping rhythm. Corvin yanked Yusuf back. Ground troops, and they tracked the transmission. Hatches overhead ripped apart, metal screaming, as Threx shock troopers dropped through, weapons ready. Armor gleaming under bunker lights. Corvin moved first, instincts taking command. He fired a charged blast, striking one invader square in the chest. Armor shattered, the enemy collapsing like a star snuffed out. Stay behind me. Corvin roared. He pushed Yusuf behind a steel beam as plasma fire scorched the air. Sparks danced like furious fireflies. Corvin deflected another shot with a gauntlet, returning fire, precise, lethal. But more troopers flooded in, way too many. A blast hit Corvin's shoulder, armor cracking open. He staggered, pain ripping through nerves. Yusuf grabbed a broken metal rod, charging a trooper far larger than himself. He swung with raw desperation, smashing the creature's helmet. Stunning it, Corvin finished it with a clean strike, admiration flashing through him. You fight with no armor, no weapons. Yusuf's voice was breathless. I fight for my home. More enemies surged, unstoppable. Corvin shoved Yusuf toward a maintenance tunnel. They will kill you if you stay. And what about you? Yusuf demanded. Corvin sealed the hatch between them, locking. Yusuf inside with a single look. Humanity needs you alive. His voice softened. A promise shaped like fate. I will return. The barrier slid shut. Yusuf pounded on it, yelling Corvin's name, but sound drowned beneath violence. Corvin turned. Surrounded. His HUD flickered. Blood sensors alarming. Vision dimmed at edges. Still, he fought, every motion fueled by a purpose he once believed impossible: protect humanity. A final trooper lunged, blade drawn. Corvin parried, sparks erupting. He twisted, blade slicing through enemy armor. The trooper fell. Silence. Smoke. Blood. Rainwater dripping through shattered ceiling. Corvin dropped to one knee, breathing hard, staring up through the broken sky. The Threx fleet, now fully in attack formation, aimed downward. The first orbital cannons began to glow, charging annihilation. Corvin whispered through trembling breath. Not luck. Someone wants us to live. The broadcast had lit a fire, but fire alone could not stop the storm. Corvin staggered to his feet, wounded, but unbroken. Yusuf, hold on. He looked to the heavens, to the enemy he once called his own. I'm coming for them. The first cannon fired, and the war for Earth truly began. The first orbital cannon fired, a searing line of light that sliced through clouds, striking the outskirts of a human city. Buildings collapsed in fire, streets boiled with molten asphalt, and screams rose to the sky, a chorus of survival and terror. Corvin dove for cover behind twisted metal, rain mixing with ash, smoke, and blood. His armor scorched, but he moved with a precision born of necessity. Every Threx soldier he engaged was a reflection of the empire he had once served. Cold, efficient, unfeeling. Yet for every strike the Threx made, humanity fought back not with overwhelming technology, but with cunning, courage, and creativity. Civilians turned debris into barricades, soldiers improvised traps, engineers rerouted energy grids to confuse enemy targeting. Corvin marveled at it even as he fought. They were fragile, yes, but relentless. This is why humans survive, because they refuse to be predictable. He fired a plasma shot at a descending Threx dropship, destabilizing it enough to crash into a canal, water exploding skyward like a geyser. Soldiers scattered, giving civilians a chance to flee. From a nearby rooftop, Yusuf directed small squads, men he barely knew, giving them calm instructions, each word carrying authority that no uniform could grant. He moved like a conductor of chaos, weaving hope into every command. Corvin realized something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. The humans were not just resisting, they were shaping the battlefield with their will. Each barricade, each improvised weapon, each cry of defiance was a thread in a tapestry no Dominion algorithm could predict. A squad of Threx warriors advanced through a ruined plaza. Corvin leapt forward, catching one off guard, slamming him into debris, ripping claws through armor. Another soldier charged from behind, plasma blade flashing. Corvin parried, sparks dancing along his gauntlets. Pain shot through his shoulder, the same wound from the bunker assault. He ignored it, focused on the immediate threat. Every moment counts. Yusuf's voice rang clear. Corvin, the civilians are trapped in the subway tunnels. We need to hold them until evacuation is complete. Corvin nodded once, eyes narrowing. He sprinted forward, moving faster than any human could comprehend, cutting through Threx ranks with efficiency and fury. His movements weren't just skill, they were purpose incarnate, a human purpose he had absorbed, transformed into action. He reached the subway entrance, debris blocking the exit. Corvin tore it away with mechanical force, gripping slabs of concrete as if they were paper. Inside he found dozens of civilians, terrified but alive, their eyes wide as they saw the alien who once would have killed them now saving them. Follow me. Move fast. They obeyed, guided by his authority and the quiet assurance of Yusuf covering the rear. The screams and blasts from above were constant, a storm of chaos that tested their courage. Corvin paused at the tunnel's mouth, shoulder burning, lungs straining. Above, the Threx fleet unleashed another salvo. Buildings crumbled, streets flooded. Electricity failed, yet humans kept moving, adapting, surviving. Every life saved, every street cleared, every trap that slowed the invaders was proof of something greater than brute force. Ingenuity, empathy, willpower. They are not just surviving. They are defying inevitability. Corvin activated his suit's comm link to the battlefield interface. He hacked into Dominion targeting arrays, redirecting plasma strikes, misleading orbital cannons into uninhabited zones. Every action risked exposure. Every mistake could mean annihilation, but the humans, led by Yusuf, kept pushing forward, fighting, surviving. Corvin realized the truth. They were never meant to dominate the galaxy. They were meant to endure it. He fought side by side with Yusuf, saving civilians, stopping Threx squads, manipulating battlefield data. Every movement was a blend of alien efficiency and human unpredictability. Then a massive Threx dropship descended directly above them. Its shadow engulfed the plaza, weapons charging. Corvin shouted, "Evacuate! Move now!" Civilians surged through tunnels, fear and hope mingling in their eyes. Corvin leapt toward the dropship, claws raking metal plating, firing precise plasma shots at weak points in its hull. Yusuf directed survivors, steady and unflinching. The dropship rocked, sparks flying, but it did not fall. Its weapon systems powered up again, obliteration imminent. Corvin gritted his teeth, scanning the situation. The fleet would adapt quickly if he hesitated. There, his only one chance, he tapped into his suit's final emergency protocol, a risky system that could temporarily overcharge weapons at the cost of his life support stability. "I've come too far to let them destroy this world," he muttered. The overcharge. Pulse coursed through his weapon, a brilliant white glow illuminating his armor. Plasma discharged, striking the dropship's engine core. The ship erupted in fire, crashing into the flooded streets, flames and steam exploding skyward. Humans cheered from the tunnels, survivors staring in awe at the alien who had risked everything. Corvin fell to his knees, exhausted, shoulders burning. He looked up at Yusuf, who nodded, silent pride and trust passing between them. The fleet above wavered, a ripple of doubt. Humans were surviving, adapting, resisting, unpredictability making the Dominion's conquest uncertain. Corvin's hearts hammered, not from fear, but from realization. This is why humans endure. Not because they were strongest, not because they were fastest, not because they were clever enough to calculate every threat, but because they never stopped believing that survival, hope and courage mattered. Above the ruins, the Threx fleet began to reposition, cautious now. One small victory, but enough to prove humans were not easily conquered. Corvin looked at Yusuf, rain dripping from his hair, eyes full of determination. "This is only the beginning," Yusuf said. Corvin nodded, bruised, battered, but unbroken. "Then let's make them remember why the stars belong to everyone, not just empires." The city below was scarred, but alive. The humans would rise, and Corvin, alien once devoted to destruction, would stand with them. And somewhere above, the fleet paused, realizing that defeating humans required more than weapons. It required breaking the unbreakable human spirit. Corvin sat atop a shattered building, rain streaming down his armor, blending soot, blood, and water into a single streaked canvas. Below, the city was alive in defiance. Survivors moving through flooded streets, erecting barricades, guiding the wounded, and reclaiming control from chaos. He had never seen humanity like this. Not as targets, not as obstacles, not as curiosities, but as forces of will. Forces that refused to bow, refused to break, refused to disappear even under the shadow of an unstoppable empire. His hearts, one primary, one auxiliary, thumped unevenly, echoing the rhythm of this alien sensation called empathy. He had fought with humans, he had died with humans, he had witnessed their courage, and something had changed inside him irreversibly. Yusuf approached from behind, water dripping from his coat, eyes scanning the horizon. "You can't unsee this, Corvin." Corvin exhaled, chest rising with effort. "I can't. Every strike I made against them, every order I carried from the Dominion, it feels wrong." Yusuf nodded. "Because it is." Corvin glanced at the distant sky, the Dominion fleet still circling, waiting, calculating. His people, his brothers in the Dominion, had once defined him. Now they were the enemy of life itself. "I thought strength was obedience," Corvin admitted. "I thought purpose was conquest." Yusuf placed a hand on his armored shoulder. "Purpose is not what you're told. Purpose is what you choose when everything else is stripped away." Corvin closed his eyes, letting the words sink. The truth of it cut deeper than any blade. His visor flickered with a signal, a patch of communication he had intercepted. Orders from Threx High Command: eliminate the scout. Retrieve or destroy all evidence of human adaptation. The species is to be contained. Corvin's jaws clenched. Contained, reduced, erased. They see only what they fear, and what they cannot control. He murmured. Yusuf knelt beside him, scanning the message. "Then let's give them a new definition. Let them see that humans cannot be contained, and neither can those who choose to fight for them." Corvin's hands flexed, claws digging into the rooftop concrete. For the first time in his life, he understood that his allegiance was no longer assigned at birth or by military command. He had chosen Earth. The city below stirred as Corvin rose to his full height. Rain poured down, lightning illuminating his silhouette like a dark angel of defiance. He felt something ancient, unquantifiable, a force beyond calculation. Not Dominion technology, not Threx hierarchy, but a quiet intelligence threading the universe. Something he had glimpsed before in Yusuf's words, in human courage, in the way the storm and city seemed to fight together. Not luck. Someone wanted me to live. The realization washed over him, reshaping him in ways that armor and genes could not measure. He was no longer a scout, not a weapon, not a soldier of an empire. He was a defender, a witness, a participant in the unyielding human spirit. Corvin moved through the streets with Yusuf, directing survivors and coordinating counterattacks. Every action was a blend of alien precision and human improvisation, a new language of warfare built on ingenuity, courage, and empathy. This is what transformation looks like. He stopped at the edge of a plaza, a young human child trapped under debris. Corvin lifted the rubble effortlessly, setting the boy free. The child's eyes widened as he looked up at the alien, saw neither menace nor malice, only protection. Corvin knelt to the boy's level. "Run to safety. Trust your courage." The child nodded and fled, disappearing into the chaotic yet resilient city. Corvin's heart fluttered with a strange warmth, pride, hope, responsibility. He turned to Yusuf. I never knew I could feel this. Fight like this, care like this." Yusuf's eyes shone. "This is what it means to be human, Corvin. Not born as one, but to become one through courage, choice, and sacrifice." Corvin's gaze lifted skyward. The Dominion fleet hovered like a storm waiting to strike. Yet he felt no fear, only resolve. "I am no longer their scout. I am a sentinel." He activated his suit's neural interface, linking it to the city's temporary communications hub. Humans, soldiers, survivors. They all needed a voice of coordination, a rallying point. Corvin became that voice. He broadcasted tactical guidance, warned of incoming threats units, suggested safe routes, and improvised countermeasures. Each instruction fused alien efficiency with human ingenuity. Civilians and soldiers followed his commands, adapting, resisting, surviving. The unthinkable was happening. Humans, led by an alien who had once hunted them, were fighting back with unprecedented unity. Corvin paused on a rooftop, rain soaking through his armor. His gaze swept the city, fire, water, storm, and life intertwining. He understood now. Transformation was not just survival. It was choice, courage, will. The Dominion could destroy buildings, fire upon streets, annihilate soldiers, but they could not destroy human spirit, nor the alien who had chosen to fight with it. Some conversions are written in fire, not faith. Corvin clenched his fists. Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled like applause. He whispered, "I am no longer yours. I am Earth's." A massive Threx dropship descended. Oblivious to the new reality, Corvin was no longer a weapon. He was a shield, a leader, a force no algorithm could predict. He readied himself, knowing the next confrontation would test every fiber of his being. Yet within him burned something stronger than fear. Purpose, not obedience. Not conquest. Transformation. Corvin glanced at Yusuf. They nodded. Allies, partners, witnesses to the same truth. Humanity's courage could inspire even the most alien of hearts. The storm above raged. Below, humans moved with resolve. Corvin, once a scout, now a sentinel, prepared to meet the Dominion head-on. For Earth, for survival, for the unbreakable human spirit. And above the city, the first true battle began. Not just for survival, but for the soul of a scout who had become more than himself. The storm had passed, leaving the city scarred but breathing. Smoke rose in slow spirals, mingling with mist, painting the ruins in shades of gray and gold. Corvin stood atop the highest remaining tower, scanning the horizon. Above, the Threx fleet loomed, black monoliths against the fading sky. Their formation was perfect, merciless. Yet for the first time, Corvin felt something entirely alien to him. Defiance, not born from duty, but from conviction. Yusuf joined him, rain still dripping from his coat. They will not stop. Not until they see complete submission. Corvin's eyes narrowed. Then we give them something they cannot anticipate. Inside the tower, Corvin accessed the ship's systems. The silent ratio, battered and scarred from previous battles, hummed faintly. Its engines were unstable, but enough to serve as a delivery system for one last message. One last defiance broadcast: "If I fall, let the truth be heard." He connected to the Dominion fleet's communication channels, not for negotiation, not for surrender, but to speak directly to the empire he had once served. "Threx Dominion," Corvin's voice rang through every speaker, every transmission channel, cold, commanding, unflinching. "This scout no longer serves you. I serve life. I serve humanity." The fleet paused, machines humming with confusion. Corvin's words were not a plea. They were a challenge. You call yourselves conquerors, yet you cannot see that your calculations ignore courage. You assume obedience guarantees victory, Yet you have never faced the human will. I have, and I stand against you. Below, humans watched the skies, hearing the alien voice that had once heralded their destruction now promised their survival. Hope surged. Soldiers raised weapons with renewed fire. Civilians moved through debris, guided by instructions from the broadcast, creating traps, barricades, and makeshift defenses. Corvin exhaled slowly, connecting one final override to the silent ratio's core, and if you will not see reason, he activated the ship's self-destruct sequence. The console glowed ominously and read countdown beginning. Then you will witness defiance written in fire. Yusuf looked at him, concern shadowing his face. Corvin, this will destroy you. Corvin's mandibles clinked, a faint metallic echo. Perhaps, but sometimes the message requires sacrifice. The countdown ticked. 10, 9, 8. Corvin reached out, sending one last broadcast through every Dominion channel. The stars belong to us all, not to empires, not to conquerors, and certainly not to fear. The countdown continued. The fleet began recalculating. Uncertain, unnerved, unable to predict the unthinkable. A scout defying destiny, siding with those they were sent to destroy. 6, 5, 4. Corvin leapt from the tower, silent ratio beneath him. The engines flared, light and heat, power unstable and radiant. 3, 2, 1. A blinding explosion engulfed the ship, lighting the city and the sky like a second sun. The shockwave threw debris and water into the air, rocking the remaining Threx forces. Ships staggered in orbit, unsure how to respond. The fleet paused. For the first time in centuries, dominance faltered. In the streets below, humans raised their heads, awestruck. They had survived, because courage had been their shield and the scouts' defiance their spark. Corvin's body was gone, consumed by fire. But his act echoed, across systems, across planets, across hearts. The Dominion could not undo what had been witnessed, a being once of empire choosing humanity. Yusuf fell to his knees, whispering into the storm. Not luck. Someone wanted him to live, in spirit if not in form. Above, the Threx fleet withdrew, shaken. Not defeated, but for the first time uncertain. Corvin had become legend not as a conqueror, but as a defender. A scout transformed into a symbol, proof that courage, empathy, and willpower could outmatch technology and tyranny. Humanity rose, battered but unbroken. Soldiers, civilians, and survivors rebuilt barricades, shared supplies, and strengthened defenses. Corvin's sacrifice united them in ways no strategy could. Yusuf gazed at the horizon, eyes reflecting the dawn. The stars are no longer theirs, he murmured. They are ours, because we dared to fight, to protect, and to believe. A single ray of sunlight pierced the lingering clouds, touching the ruined city. The world was scarred, yes, but alive, and humanity, inspired by an alien who had chosen them, would endure. Corvin's legacy, defiance, transformation, and belief in the unbreakable human spirit had written a message no empire could erase. Some conversions are written in fire. Not faith, above the heavens were silent, vast and infinite, and somewhere within that immensity the faintest echo of divine presence, a quiet order, a sense that courage and choice matter, and that even the smallest defiance can alter the course of the stars, lingered in the cosmos. The humans looked at the sky and whispered in unison, "We will fight. We will endure. The stars belong to us all." And somewhere beyond the void, the spirit of the scout watched over them, transformed, eternal, and unyielding.